Nobody designed the price of your morning coffee. Nobody sat in a room and decided it should cost $4. Millions of people, farmers, traders, cafe owners, customers, each chasing their own interests, and somehow the price just emerged. Correct. Efficient. Without anyone in charge. And yet, most people around the world don't trust their government. People call it slow, corrupt, wasteful, a middleman nobody asked for. So the question writes itself. If markets sort things out this beautifully, why do we need governments at all? To answer that, we need to picture the world economists imagine when they say markets work perfectly. Not a fantasy, a model, a set of conditions under which no government is needed because supply and demand handle everything on their own. Economists call this idea the first welfare theorem, the theoretical proof that, under the right conditions, free markets can sort themselves out perfectly. Every willing buyer finds a willing seller, every deal worth making gets made, and nothing is left on the table. Another name for the mechanism behind it, the invisible hand. But the invisible hand works only under specific conditions. The moment those conditions break down, you don't get a functioning market. You get what economists call a market failure. There are 4 ways this happens, and each one reveals exactly why governments exist. The first, externalities. Imagine a factory upstream from your town. Clean operation, profitable, happy buyers and sellers on both ends. But every day, a little waste goes into the river. By the time the water reaches your town, it's dirty. Or think of a data center humming 24 hours a day, making it impossible for people nearby to sleep. These companies never priced that in. Your town never agreed to it. The market got the transaction exactly right and ignored everything outside it. That spillover, a cost or benefit landing on someone who was never part of the deal, is what economists call an externality. The invisible hand is blind to it. It runs the other way too. When you get vaccinated, your neighbors benefit because you're less likely to infect them. They didn't pay for that protection. Positive externality, still a market failure because the benefit isn't priced in either. This is where governments step in. Tax the pollution so the factory actually accounts for the damage it causes. A tax designed specifically to price in an externality even has a name. A Pigouvian tax, after economist Arthur Pigou. And for positive externalities, subsidize them, which is exactly why most governments fund or mandate vaccines. The second, public goods. Externalities are about spillover effects of goods that are produced but unaccounted for by the market. What if the market refuses to produce the good in the first place? Imagine your neighborhood needs a streetlight. Everyone agrees. Yes, we definitely need one. The total cost is $1,000. 10 families, $100 each. Done. The organizer knocks on the first door. Would you contribute $100? The homeowner thinks, well, if everyone else pays, I'll still enjoy the light, so why should I pay? The next neighbor thinks the same, and the next, and the next. Soon, nobody pays. No streetlight gets built. The street stays dark. Here's the strange part. Nobody was against the streetlight. Everyone wanted it. But because everyone hoped someone else would pay, nobody did. Economists call this person the free rider. Someone who benefits from something without contributing to it. And when everyone becomes a free rider, the thing never gets built at all. National defense, basic scientific research, street lighting, these are public goods. The market won't produce them because there's no way to charge only the people who benefit. So, governments step in, collect a little from everyone through taxes, and build the streetlight. The third, information asymmetry. But even when markets exist and people are actively trading, the invisible hand assumes both sides actually know what they're getting into. What if they don't? Walk into a used car lot. The seller has owned that car for 3 years. He knows the transmission is slipping, that it overheats in traffic, that the check engine light was taped over. You see a clean exterior and a reasonable price. You make a deal based on information that doesn't match reality. Economist George Akerlof wrote a famous paper about exactly this in 1970. He called it the market for lemons. His insight: when sellers know more than buyers, the market doesn't just become unfair. It can collapse entirely because buyers stop trusting any seller at all. The government's response: forced disclosure. Car history reports, nutrition labels, drug approval before anything hits shelves. Licensing for doctors and lawyers, so the person treating you has actually been tested. The government doesn't run the market. It makes sure both sides can see what they're actually agreeing to. The fourth, monopoly. And finally, what if both sides have all the information, but one side has all the power? The invisible hand assumes many buyers, many sellers, each too small to set the price alone. Competition keeps everyone honest, but when one company quietly takes over the whole game, competition disappears. Think of the only internet provider in your city. You have a problem with your connection? You report it. They shrug. Where else do you go? The market exists. It just isn't working. Economists call this market power, and in its most extreme form, a monopoly. Governments respond with antitrust law, breaking up companies before they reach that point, blocking mergers that would hand one player the entire board. And for natural monopolies, where building duplicate infrastructure genuinely doesn't make sense, power grids, water pipes, the government regulates prices directly rather than trying to create competition that can't exist. So, do we need governments? 4 failures, 4 government responses. Which brings us back to the original question. Yes, but not because markets are broken, because markets are incomplete. Think of a soccer match. Most of the time, the players handle it themselves. Passing, defending, attacking, the game flows beautifully. But the moment someone punches another player or deliberately handles the ball, the game stops working. Someone has to step in, not to play, just to fix what the players can't fix themselves. That's the referee. That's the government. But Ronald Coase, one of the sharper economists of the 20th century, added an important warning. Sometimes the government fixes costs more than the original failure. A clumsy regulation can do more damage than the pollution it was trying to stop. A badly designed subsidy can distort a market for decades. Some referees develop main character syndrome and start playing. And referees, it turns out, are not very good at playing. So the blanket question of whether you need a government or not is rather outdated. It's probably good for some dumb social media debates, but not for smart people like you. The real question was never markets or government. It's where does each one actually work? Markets, where prices can capture the full picture and competition keeps everyone honest. Government, where they can't, where costs land on people outside the deal, where necessary things exist that nobody can charge for, where information is hidden, or where one player has quietly taken over the whole board. Not more government, not less. The right government, in the right places. The invisible hand is real. It just needs a referee who knows when to blow the whistle and when to stay off the pitch.